Manchester City's 3-1 win over Arsenal was obviously something that did considerably dent Arsenal's hopes at a title bid, but that's going to be the subject of another video. For now, I thought we'd focus on some rather interesting stats that in fact did come up during this particular win, and it was a pretty memorable match. Lots of very good performances, although not so much if you're an Arsenal fan, because again, losing 3-1 to your title rivals does in fact spell disaster for your title tilt. But beyond that, there were some interesting stats that were notched up during this particular match in the overall concept of things. So I thought we'd go over those, and without further ado, let's just quickly check in and see what rather interesting numbers we can come up with after analyzing that rather close defeat, because again, the 3-1 scoreline doesn't quite do that much justice to how good Arsenal's performance actually was. But they were destroyed by a few moments of brilliance, and one of those came later on from this man, Erling Haaland. Now, Haaland has been the subject of intense debate in recent weeks, because many feel that City would sometimes be better off without him, whereas others point to his output and say that how could you leave a player like that out? And in fact, he's making his case for being a regular starter just more and more easy for Pep Guardiola, because again, in this match, he scored his 26th Premier League goal. So he scored 26 Premier League goals so far into his debut season. And with that, he equaled Sergio Aguero's record, which Aguero had made in 2014 and 15. This record, by the way, was for the most number of goals scored by a City player. Haaland has equaled that and is very much on course to pass that, but not just pass that record, also to pass the record for the most number of goals in a single season, which is 34. Now, don't forget that 34 goals is a total that has been scored by both Andy Cole as well as Alan Shearer in the course of one season. Both of them have done that, but it's also worth noting that both of them did that in the 90s when there were more clubs playing in the Premier League. Haaland is on course to not just break that record, he's on course to smash it and actually put his own stamp on this record, as he is for many other goal scoring records. But this wasn't the only interesting stat that emerged from last night. This one, if you're an Arsenal fan, I'd suggest cover your eyes up a tad, because, well, Mikel Arteta has something of an interesting relationship when it comes to matches against his mentor Pep Guardiola. Now, it is worth remembering that Arteta was in fact the assistant manager to Guardiola when he came in and was really reshaping Manchester City in his own identity. But unfortunately, these numbers, these scorelines don't make for good reading. And in fact, Arteta has now lost. He's played 6 matches against Guardiola in the Premier League as Arsenal manager, and he's lost all 6 of them. It started off with a 3-0 loss the first time around. After that, it was a 1-0 loss and a subsequent 0-1 loss. Then there was, of course, that 5-0 pasting in the 2021-22 season, as well as a 1-2 loss thereafter. This time around, the first time that Arsenal and City are facing off in this season, in the 2022-23 season, and the first time that Arsenal are actually competing directly against City, ends in a 1-3 loss. Again, hardly ideal when you're looking at it from the grand scheme of things, especially considering just how perilous Arsenal's recent form had been. But they did have at least one small silver lining to take from this particular loss. It is, aside from the fact that they showed some good fight to actually come back, make the game 1-1, it was, unsurprisingly, the performance put in by this man, Bukayo Saka. Now, Saka has long been seen as probably the brightest young talent to have emerged out of Arsenal's academy, and he vindicated that performance yet again, winning and then scoring a penalty to level the game briefly and give the Gunners some hope. But that penalty goal which he scored actually was historic in other ways, because first off, it continued his streak of scoring from the spot. He's so far taken 4 penalties in his senior Arsenal career, and he scored all 4 of them. Now, taking a penalty might seem like the easiest thing, but it's always about the mental side of things. And not just that, this goal was also Saka's 25th goal or 25th senior goal of his Arsenal career. This makes him the youngest player to have scored 25 goals as an Arsenal player, and in fact, the record he broke belonged to a certain Cesc Fabregas. So again, that is elite company to be a part of, to say the least, and it just highlights Saka's growing importance not just to Arsenal but also to his club side. He remains pretty much undroppable on given form, but Arsenal will need both him as well as others to actually pick up their socks and actually do better, because again, They have really not been in good form recently, and with City actually becoming more and more resurgent, it does seem like there's every chance that Arsenal will need to find points from elsewhere. Don't forget, the two teams are scheduled to play each other later on in this season as well, and Arteta will hope to not only stop, Erling Haaland, but also snap a winless streak against City in the Premier League that now stretches to 6 games if he has to have any chance of actually taking that title and bringing home Arsenal's first title in nearly 20 years. Thank you so very much for joining us in this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, and also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Last but not least, don't forget to download the AajTak app. You'll get all of the breaking news updates, not just from the world of football, but the world of sport over there, right at your fingertips. Do download that if you haven't already. Thank you all once again for joining us. I hope to see you with us through the day, and if you're on the channel right now, please feel free to check out some other videos that we may have done. For now though, goodbye.